Good morning, everyone. This is WifiToYourDoom, coach of the best team in draft. You'll see the logo kind of faded in the background on your screen. And we are here for our first ever draft breakdown video. It's been a long time coming. Been playing for about 3.5 years now. This is something I've always wanted to do, and thank you Game Freak for finally doing something to at least throw us a bone for singles, fixing that timer. Anyways, we are here in a very interesting league, Pokemon World Circuit, run by Tranel, I believe is how you pronounce his name. Cool dude I've seen around a couple times before. But it is, of course, Paldea decks. Rest in peace to the national decks. And we're playing in DLC 1. The twist on this league is we've got low tier Terra. A lot of leagues are doing that lately. But the interesting thing is they made us pick our Terramon from 8 points and below first round. And so going into the draft, I had one Mon in mind that I really have wanted to use again for a long time, especially with Terra. People that have known me for years know that I am quite the simp for this little pocket monster. So I took Yanmega with my 4th overall pick. He has a plethora of sets that he can run, but the most common is just going to be Specs, Tinted Lens, of course, absolutely blowing through pretty much every single mod in the format. But it's got a bunch of new tools from finally getting introduced after we got some fancy new TMs, so hoping to pull off some devious shenanigans with him. And after that, it was a 16-person draft, so somehow, after 24 picks, it came back to me, and I was burdened with choice. I ended up going with Iron Valiant. It's one of, if not the best mixed attackers that we have left in the decks. It is demonically strong, insanely fast at 116, and it can do a little bit of everything. Got some utility in Encore, got all the coverage it really needs, and I'm sure that if we get cooking with it, we'll be winning a lot of games with it. Whether it be cleaner sets with Booster Swords Dance, or just running a Life Orb or a Choice item into it KOing everything in the game. It is a mon that is next to impossible to switch into, unless your name is Skeledirge, but we'll have other ways to help deal with that fellow, if anybody even drafted it. I don't quite remember. Anyways, after Valiant, we ended up picking up Torn T, one of the absolute kings of the format. It might have gotten nerfed after it came out of home with it losing Knock and Defog, but it did get knockback with the DLC. So, I wasn't going to click Defog anyways, as some of you may know. I have a fun habit of running Defog and never clicking it and losing to hazards. Not bringing it and losing to hazards. Or the one time I try to click it, it doesn't really matter at the end of the game anyways. So hopefully we don't get stacked on too hard here. But maybe I'll actually end up running removal on one of our later mons, now that I've said this in the video. Speaking of removal, next pick we had Quackable. Now you may be wondering, why in the world do you have 2 flying types and 2 fighting types to start off your draft? Well, the answer to that is simple. I squinted at Yanmega and pretended it wasn't a flying type, because it's going to be whatever type demolishes my opponent the hardest every week. And I may have forgotten I already had a fighting type when I took Quackable, and afterwards I went, you know, this is the best removal that I'm going to have for that Yanmega to never actually bring. So I'm going to keep the Quackable. And fun fact, this mon is quite possibly the best snowball in the format. If you slip up and give one turn, and this guy gets an Aqua Step off, it's going to outspeed and OHKO your whole ass team. Nothing you can do about it. People are going to hate and say it's not that great, but if you cook with a duck, maybe throw a big nugget, because knockoff is for losers. Flame big nugget is for real ones. You can win some games. After that, we have the one and only Tinglu. Mr. doesn't fucking die to anything ever. Do not question it. That insane bulk spread, paired with its ruin ability, just means it's gonna sit there, it's gonna munch on his apple, and he's gonna have a good time. Clicking spikes, clicking whirlwind. He's very deceptively strong as well. EQ Throat Chop is a pretty solid offensive pairing, even if you're running fully defensive. And who knows, maybe I can pull out some offensive sets with him as well this season. I have cooked up Choice Band Tinglu more times than one, and every time I've ever done it, it's done dastardly things. It's a mon you can get surprising amounts of versatility out of, especially when you smoke enough crack in the team builder like I do. Just a healthy dose. Enough to get the proper sets on the field, but not enough to lose, because of course we won't be doing any of that. Mark my words. Except for when I do, and then you can pretend I didn't say that. Anyways, next up we have the king of being mediocre at everything. A jack of all trades, master of none, if you will. We have Serena. Now this is here because, even though I won't run it, I wanted to have another rapid spinner. Because the way defog is distributed in this gen, I would have had to take a third flying type, and I really didn't want to have to do that. My weaknesses have stacked up bad enough as is. Anyways, this lad is here to click U-turn, rapid spin. Maybe it'll get some juicy power whips off if we run into a team that's weak enough to grass. But otherwise, it's basically a utility bot. Will it come a lot? Probably not. Will it hopefully force some prep? Also, probably not. It's not a very good mod. But I have a habit of drafting it a lot anyways. I really wanted Decidueye in this slot, because he's got a little bit more cooking potential to him, but it got taken the same round I ended up taking Serena. That's why I took it a little earlier than I found necessary, just because I was worried I wouldn't be able to get another removal option. But the real fun kicks in with the next pick. Out of anger and spite at my ghost type of choice being taken, I took the best ghost type that we have allowed, that was left on the board at least, in Spectra. I don't know why it was sitting there in round 7. Let me just say that again, round 7, a round 1 worthy Pokemon. But he's here. And we have double fighting, and we have a Terrayon Mega. So I accidentally cooked up some insane support for this Spectra. I do intend to be cleaning up a lot of games with it. Whether it be just outspeeding the whole team, maybe some way to boost its speed, maybe it'll just be so bulky you can't kill it in the endgame. Despite its depressingly shallow offensive move pool of Ghost, Psychic, maybe sauce in a raw Terra Blast there, or a Mud Shot. It is insanely destructive offensively. With the way Ghost types have evolved since the removal of Pursuit, this thing is just going to have some matchups where it looks like it's going to win on preview. I'm sure there'll be people cooking with their Terramons to try to stop it, but it's still going to do the damn thing anyways. And with our 8th pick, we've got Agent Raj, the big bad Koparaja. Personal favorite of mine. I'm not going to lie and say it's the best steel type in the world, but for, I believe it was 6 points, it's going to get the job done. It's got a decent stat spread. It's got insanely high HP, average at best defenses. Gives you a lot of wiggle room in the EV spreads to bulk it out to live some hits. Hits incredibly hard. Fun fact, it is the mon that I have gotten the most kills with in a season of singles draft. We're gonna ignore the fact that it was a G-Max Koparaja, because that's irrelevant. Clearly, Koparaja was just that broken. No reason to think that it was just G-Max being broken. Shout out to when we were playing with that still. That was a lovely time in singles. Surprisingly fun in doubles draft, though. Gonna miss having that around. But, anyways, coming into our last 3 picks, we had a grand total of 3 points remaining. And we were required to draft 11 mons, so I really had to pull up into the lab, do a little research. I did digging through the tiers to figure out the absolute best 1-pointers that may possibly get to show up to 1, maybe even 2 games. And first up, we found Crocolar, who honestly probably shouldn't have been in 1 point. It's not a crazy good mon, but for 1 point, getting unaware, solid bulk, solid utility between Wisp, Slack, Flamethrower's always a solid spammable move. He's got the potential to really do a decent job checking some of the mons running around. And honestly, for 1 point, it would have been a good check to Iron Valiant, so might as well snatch it up for myself instead. Crocolar, I could see coming to a couple games this season. Catch somebody off guard, refuse to die, and just sit there laughing as stuff gets whittled down by Willow Chip. Anyways, next up we come to the tragedy of the draft. I got sniped only a few times throughout this, but the biggest one is at the end. I really, really wanted to be able to cook with the 1 point Chimecho, but it got taken before I could get my grubby hands on it. So instead we went and we got Hatcham. Which Hatcham for 1 point, he's a pretty cool dude too. He might not be a fairy type, but he's got magic bounce still. He's got solid bulk. Could be a decent matchup fish if we get a team that's not good into psychic types, but I just really wanted that Chimecho, because he can do some dastardly things. So all I can really hope for at this point is that the person who did draft it does it some justice. Otherwise I'm going to be thoroughly disappointed. If he ends up dropping it at any point during the season, we are going to go running to pick up that Chimecho in this place. But until then, Hatcham's on the squad. Last up, I was kind of running out of options down here. I was torn between 2 mons, the first being Bibarel, because the disrespect of Swords Dancing getting to +4 and annihilating somebody with dual priority sounded really funny to me. But in the end, I ended up going with Coughing. Coughing is a surprisingly bulky mon. It's got Pain Split, which is very effective off that tiny little HP stat he has. And it gives us T-Spikes, the option to automatically remove T-Spikes if we run Neutralizing Gas. And he got Gunk Shot too, which catching people off guard these days with Coughing or a Wheezing that can hit a little harder on the physical side since he didn't have Jab before. He doesn't have very big hands to be swinging around with. Could be cool. Overall, will he come to a game? Most likely not. Is he a cool dude who I am happy to have sitting in this video right now? Yeah, of course. Big Bad Coughing. Gonna be striking fear into the hearts of our opponents. And with that, that wraps up our draft for this 9th season of Pokemon World Circuit. Hopefully, my rambling was mildly entertaining, but the real fun is going to be coming shortly after we play our Week 1 game. Not sure when I'll be getting that up quite yet, depends on how hard I struggle with editing that after I get it recorded this week, but we shall see. If you made it this far, thank you for listening. Hopefully you enjoyed my ramblings. I like to spew some stupid bullshit, and it'll come out a lot hotter and faster once I'm in the heat of the moment playing a game. Anywho, I will see you next time. Peace out.